everyone. I, Kuldeep Sharma, welcome you all to today's session of daily news analysis, where we are going to do the most important news item from the Hindu newspaper as well as the Indian Express. Once we are done with the Hindu news, once we are done with the daily news analysis, then we would be doing the 20 GK questions, which are uploaded on the portals of CLAT PREP students in the morning, and the others can also do it from here. So let's start with the news headlines for today. So although today's newspaper is very light as compared to other previous year's newspapers, yesterday's newspaper, because most of the news are is a continuation of previous year of yesterday's. So before I begin today, let me show you something which which students usually miss out on. So the Hindu, if you are reading the Hindu newspaper, there is one specific quiz which is coming up daily for the upcoming Lok Sabha election. And sometimes the questions are really good, sometimes they are not of that level. However, it does not harm us if we attempt those questions. So let's look at the three questions which are there. I'm not going to tell you the answer right now because these have been incorporated in the 20 GK questions also. So my advice to you would be, when you are reading the newspaper, please take a holistic look at the newspaper, because you never know where you can find a really good question for your exam. For example, these three questions are: when was the voter ID card pilot project launched? So whenever the first time the idea of this voter ID card came up, where was it, the pilot project or a small scale project for it was launched? Secondly, who was the first female chief election commissioner of India? Very relevant question for you all. And third, name the Indian state which has the highest number of Lok Sabha seats for the general elections in 2020. So before we do the Hindu news analysis, if you know the answer to these three questions, you can actually mention them in the comment box. Okay, now moving on. So let's start with the news headlines from the Hindu newspaper first. So the first news is regarding that a few days ago, there was a private organization known as SkyMet, which is a meteorological organization. It stated that India is going to get a normal monsoon. Now, the Indian Meteorological Department, which is responsible for all weather and climate-related news in India, has stated that India is going to have a above normal monsoon. So as you may know that Indian agriculture and as well as the Indian economy is totally dependent or very much dependent on the amount of rainfall which we get in the monsoon. So monsoon season, which usually starts from the month of July and goes on till September, second half of September or October, first half of October, provides India with the majority of rainfall, or provides India with the majority of water which is required for its drinking purpose, for its agriculture purposes, and for any other purpose also. So having a normal monsoon or a above normal monsoon becomes very important for India's water security. Okay, so now IMD has predicted that India is going to have a above normal monsoon. So we should understand what is a normal monsoon. So a normal monsoon would be when calculating for a long period average. So if I calculate the normal rainfall every year for a very long period, then I'll be having an average, or will be having an idea that how much rainfall should fall, that I'll call it as normal. In percentage term, it has to be 100%. And in terms of centimeters, it is actually 87 centimeters. So if in a particular year, if in a particular year, the total average rainfall is 87 centimeter in the monsoon period, we are going to say that it was a 100% normal monsoon. However, it is not necessarily that it would be totally, exactly 87 centimeter. So we say that if the rainfall is between 96% and between 104%, then we are going to say that it is going to be a normal rainfall. So in absolute terms, around 83, 84 centimeter to 93, 94 centimeter would be considered as somewhat of a normal monsoon. And since the IMD has stated that it is a above normal monsoon, which means the rainfall is going to be more than 104%. So as of now, they are saying that it would be more than 6% more, which is around 106%. So this year, the normal monsoon, the above normal monsoon would be about 106%, although it is not that. However, one thing which this data does not show us is the spatial distribution. What is this? मीनिंग ऑफ स्पेशल डिस्ट्रीब्यूशन, इट्स वेरी वेरी इजी टू अंडरस्टैंड। स्पेस में डिस्ट्रीब्यूशन कैसा है बेसिकली, कि सिर्फ पूरे इंडिया में इक्वल रेनफॉल हो रही है, या इक्वल किस एरियाज में ज्यादा हो रही है, कई एरियाज में कम हो रही है, एंड विच इज एक्चुअली द केस ऑल्सो, कि जो नॉर्थ वेस्ट की स्टेट्स हैं आपकी, राजस्थान, गुजरात, पंजाब, हरियाणा, यूजुअली नॉट ऑलवेज बट यूजुअली they do not get the same amount of rainfall which is which the state of Karnataka, Kerala, etc., specifically in their coastal areas get. So one question which I would like to ask you, and you can comment in the comment box also, which place in India, listen to this properly, which place in India gets the first shower of monsoon? So basically, I am simply asking you, whenever this monsoon is going to come in July, May, June, July, whenever it comes or hits Indian coast, which is the first place in India which gets the first shower of monsoon? So look at the map of India, look at the pattern of monsoon, and you will get an idea which place gets it. Okay, so this was it from this. Let's moving on. So next news is a very good news, that India has been able to increase its export by $41.68 billion. Not by, but this is was the total amount of goods export which we have. So as you may know that the Indian government has been trying to improve its goods and services exports, and at the same time it is trying to replace or trying to reduce the strategy where we are trying to reduce our imports and are somehow trying to improve our export is known as import substitution. So import substitution is more related to import reduction of imports only. What is import substitution? So all the goods and services which can be produced in our country only, and we should not be importing this. That there is no requirement of import. We try to manufacture those goods, and we try to give those services in India only, so that we don't have to rely on imports. Basically, we have started to self-produce in India, so that we are no longer required to import that. The other way in which you can define this import substitution is, for example, we import a lot of oil and natural gas. So if we start shifting our fuels sources to renewable energy, if we start using ethanol in our petroleum production, etc., then the requirement of the amount of oil for import would be substantially reduced, and that's how we are going to complete the import substitution. So the good news is that apart from reduction of import, there has been an increase in exports also. So this is also going to, although as the data suggests that this data, as compared to last year, this data is there has been a contraction as compared to last year. Contraction means that last year in the month of March, actually we exported more amount of goods, more value of goods. However, this year it has been less. Still, it is a good news looking at the world market or looking at the global situation right now. Because as you may know that there has been many such world crisis or war crisis is going on in different parts of the world, and whenever there are wars or crisis, in the global sphere, the trade is the first thing which gets hampered. And so India's trade has also got hampered, but still as because still of the in spite of the wars going on in the world, India has been progressing when it comes to export, and from here on we are only going to improve. So one thing, and there would be one question also in 20 GK question is, what are the goods which India's export? If I talk about the goods basket or export basket of India, which are the goods which form the primary constituent of the export basket? So India exports, and some people might find it shocking, but it is the petroleum products. How? So one thing which you should understand is that India imports crude oil. However, India has a very big setups of refinery. It is very good in the refinery sector. So it actually processes crude oils, and finally, whatever is the final product, like your petroleum, your diesel, your kerosene, etc., those all form the petroleum refinery product. And India is the in India's export basket, the largest share is taken up by the petroleum. So next thing which you should know is, what are the other 4 5 constituents. Although usually if a question directly comes up on exports basket, then probably the first, the whichever is the table topper would be asked. It is very less that the second, third, fourth, and fifth positions are asked for you. However, apart for petroleum basket, the other important thing which we export is diamond. Not raw diamond, but the polished diamond. We take raw diamond from other countries and then polish it and then sell it. Third is your pharma products. As you know, India is also known as a pharmacy of the world because we produce a lot of generic medicine. Apart from it, jewelry, gold and silver jewelry is also one of the highest, uh, one of the item on the export basket which has a big share. And finally, after jewelry, the fifth product is actually rice. So you think of this also, that an agriculture product is one of the top 5 items in the export basket. However, for your purposes, you should know this. Moving on now. So again, it's a continuation of yesterday's news only. So if you may know that Iran actually did several strikes on the Israel mainland. So it is for the first time in so many years after Islamic revolution took place in the state of Iran. So another question which you have to answer is, when did the Islamic revolution in Iran took place? And Iran is a very important country for us, right? Okay, so you have to tell me in which year the Islamic Revolution took place. And beginning from the Islamic Revolution of that year, there Iran has never been directly involved, has not directly attacked Israel in so many years. However, day before yesterday, Iran crossed the red line, and for the first time, actually directly attacked the Israeli mainland by with the help of rockets and ballistic missile, etc. So let's look at a certain context why Iran actually attacked Israel. And if you want to know a little bit of more, then you can refer the yesterday's Hindu news analysis, where I've given you a brief background on historical background. Also, if you want to know more, then wait for a specific video where we are going to discuss this Israel-Gaza conflict and the role of Iran. Okay, so what happened was, like a month ago, not a month ago, but a week ago, it was the consulate, Iranian consulate or embassy in the city of Damascus, which is the capital of Syria. So I hope you know that a consulate or an embassy is kind of considered. It is not, but is kind of considered just like the land of that country. So basically, it's alleged. It is alleged, and people actually know this, but allegedly, because there is no official proof for it. But allegedly, the Iran consulate in Syria was attacked by Israeli defense forces, by Israeli air attack. So basically, Israeli army actually launched drone attacks on the Iran consulate in Syria, because of which two of its military officials also died. And it wasn't just like a single incident or a secluded incident. There have been many killings of Iranian military officers and their scientists, etc., for the last 1 or 2 years. And most of these have been contributed or attributed to the Israeli secret forces or the Israeli defense forces. So Iran has been warning Israel and other Western nations that if it is repeated in future, then it is going to take action. And when this incident took place, Iran finally crossed the red line and finally attacked Israel. So this is the immediate context of why Iran has attacked Israel. If you want to know more regarding this news, you can actually refer to the yesterday's Hindu news analysis also. Moving on, so in the Hindu newspaper, the text and context, another good news for us, but it was a celebratory moment, that because we have completed 40 years of Operation Meghdoot. So today, April 13, 2024, not today, but April 13, 2024, marks 40 years of successful completion of our military operation of Operation Meghdoot. And it is not the completion, but initiation of this. However, remember, it is considered as a continuing mission. Why? Let me start with the context first. So Operation Meghdoot was an operation launched by the Indian Army to occupy heights of Siachen Glacier, the peaks of Siachen Glacier. So Siachen Glacier Do not think a glacier as just a piece of mountain. A glacier is basically can be a flowing river. It can be a large area also. So Siachen Glacier is again a very important strategically important area. Why? Because Siachen Glacier is, if you see the map, this is actually the POK. In this Jammu and Kashmir, this is the POK region. Here is the Saksham Valley, Sakshgam Valley. And in between here, exactly at the middle point, is your Siachen Glacier area. So the sovereignty or which of the following country would have, who have the sovereignty or sovereign rights over this glacier was not clear till we completed, yet till we did our Operation Meghdoot. Pakistan was claiming this area. China also was claiming this area, and obviously India also was claiming this area. And of all such agreements which were settled between India and Pakistan, the territorial dispute or the territorial ownership of this Siachen Glacier was not cleared by any of those agreements. While when this Operation Meghdoot was planned, the immediate reason for this plan was that there were intelligence knew that Pakistan is also going to occupy this Siachen Glacier, that Pakistan is also planning to do so. And at the same time, Siachen Glacier is very important for Indian security purposes because it is just above the Karakoram. From here, you are actually in direct sight of Sakshigam Valley. So Sakshigam Valley was earlier part of UK. However, Pakistan felt that if it gives this place, yeah, give this valley to China, then India would not be able to threaten, or will not be able to take away the Saksham Valley from Pakistan. Because if you were in control of Siachen Glacier, then it would have become very easy for India in some time future to occupy the Saksham Valley. So for Pakistan, for one reason or the other, find it find it beneficial for itself that it actually gifted the Saksham Valley as a compromise or as a last resort to settle the disputes between Pakistan and China. So Pakistan and China were also having dispute. So as a gift, yeah, just as a final resort, it finally shifted Saksham Valley to China, and so that they decided between themselves that now all our borders are settled with the giving of Saksham Valley. Okay, so Siachen Glacier, what it does is that it helps you to keep an eye on the POK region also, and it also helps India to keep an eye on Saksham Valley also. So that's why, although it is very difficult to survive in the Siachen Glacier area, especially in the winter area, but still India is maintaining its presence there because once a country loses the hold, yeah, if India loses the hold of the Siachen Glacier, or Pakistan or China gets hold of it, then it would become very difficult for India to maintain its prominence or its dominance over the Kashmir Valley. So because of this reason, India has been continuing being in the occupation of this Siachen Glacier. Also, one important fact which you should know about Siachen Glacier is that it is the highest and the coldest. It is the highest and the coldest battlefield of the world. So there is no other battlefield. Battlefield is basically where two countries fight a war. So there is no such other place where where the battlefield is at such a height. So Siachen Glacier is also considered as the highest and the coldest battlefield. Okay, so I'll expect you to read this article also from this. Moving on, so another article. Good news for today is that in the editorial section of the 3 out of 4 of your articles are actually political in nature, and you must know, at least the ClatPrep students know, that we advise you in the newspaper analysis class itself that you have to avoid political. So if you want to read those editorials, you can do so, but it is not for GK purpose, but for your English or other section purpose. And good news is that you don't have to read 3 editorials from today's newspaper if you want. However, the other two, three articles are important. One such article is that what is India's goal? What is India's goal, or what should be India's goal when it's come to research in Arctic Circle? So the context of this is that in December of 2023, India actually, a Indian organization, the Arctic organization, has actually sent a team of 4 Indian scientists to Norway, so that they can get acclimatized to the weather of the Arctic Circle and finally perform its maiden means first Arctic, maiden Arctic expedition. Mainly a research was sent in the winter months for the first time, and actually they completed it in the March of 2020. So here these two authors are arguing that India as of now had not done a winter expedition. However, now India has realized the importance of Arctic. And one importance of Arctic is the fact of climate change. As we are aware that climate change is actually a big reality now, and we can actually see the impact of climate change in front of our eyes. And it has been reported, it was being reported for the last 3 4 years that the ice in Arctic Circle, or the glaciers in the Arctic circles are melting at a much faster rate. Because of which India also felt that it is very important that we start doing research from where the action, or we start doing research where the action is taking place right now. So that's why India for the first time sent a winter Arctic expedition. Apart from the reason of environment of, or for the reason of science and technology, the other reason why Arctic is important for India is the northern sea route. So what is the northern sea route? So if you will look at the Arctic circle, so you will find out that at least in the month of summer the glaciers are so much melted that large ships can pass through those areas. The ships can pass through those areas, and Northern Sea route would be such a route wherein uh, wherein oil and other goods from the state of Russia or from Arctic state could actually travel to India through a shorter route, because it would become open 12 months a year because of climate change. So India is also interested in researching this, so that India is able to invest in the North Sea route at the right. As of now, any of the shipping which comes from that area has to travel from Europe and then to Suez Canal and then to the Indian Ocean, then finally to India. However, once the NSR becomes operational for 12 months of the year, then probably all such shipments from Russia would be coming from the eastern side of Russia rather than from the west side of Russia and taking a longer route. So these are the two reasons which it has provided. Apart from it, here the author has argued that there is a potential for collaboration. So here, as you may know, there is a particular organization known as Arctic Council, which is an intergovernmental body of all the Arctic states. So whichever states have a territory inside the Arctic Circle is the member of this Arctic Council. So here the author has argued that India has a lot of potential to collaborate with the countries of the Arctic Council, specifically with the chair of the present Arctic Council. And I'm not telling you the name of that Arctic Council chairman because that has been asked in today's 20 DK question also. Okay, so now there is a lot of scope and lot of scope in all the regions, be it be economics, like the example of not national, but North Sea route, and there can be other sea routes also. So there is a economic significance, there is a science and tech significance also, apart from climate change, because Arctic Circle do not have human habitation. It does not have any kind of artificial lights also. It makes it perfect for any kinds of space related research, if any space related ground based research, if any country wants to do. So for that also there is a increased scope. And apart from it, obviously you have other reasons also. For example, climate change, and as if India aims to become a superpower, then it becomes very important for India that India should be involved in all such international collaboration which are happening all around the world. So these are some of the reasons which the author has argued makes Arctic imperative for India. Moving on. So I told you that there are two good articles in today's Hindu newspaper. That was the first one, article one, and the second one is this. So here the author is talking about the changes or the introduction of the Digital Personal Data Law. So as you may know, Data Protection Act. So this act was enacted and was passed by the legislature last year only, and the main objective of this act is to protect your personal data, protect personal data of users in India. And to protect personal data, because you have to promote digital economy also. However, the personal data should not be compromised. So to do that, to make a balance, the main emphasis here is on the consent, or as we know is consent clause. So what would be required is that if you enter any website and that website wants to take any of your personal data, and how it's going to take your personal data, for all of such activity, it has to take your consent. So a pop-up box would be coming up on your board where it would be specifically be asking for all kind of consent it is required. If it is going to only be using personal data for its own data analysis, there would be just one box. But if it is going to share this information with some other person, then there would be two separate boxes so that you can consent to each one of them. So let's say you consent to data analysis by the website only, then you would pick the first box and you do not tick the box where it is asking for sharing permission. By this, you would be able to use the website, but your data would not be shared with a third party. How it is going to be enforceable is to be seen in the future. So as you may know, only the act has been created right now, and the body or the your mighty ministry or Ministry of Information Technology has not come up with the rules yet. So once the rules come up, we would be very clear how this consent clause and how this DPDP Act, Digital Personal Data Protection Act, is going to become applicable in. So here, this author is particularly talking about a specific exemption. So as I've told you that if any social media intermediary or any such digital body wants to use your information, it wants to take your consent. However, in certain cases, there have been certain exemption being given. For example, the government for social welfare. For example, if for purpose of Aadhaar, it can actually take your personal data and use it because it's an exempted also. It's exempted also under the Act is. However, one exemption which was there in the earlier draft of the DPDP Act is missing in the final act, which is regarding journalistic expression, the journalistic activities. So here he has given an example how this is going to hamper the journalistic activity. So since there is no exemption, let's say a journalist wants to document or wants to report about the expenses or the day-to-day activities of a member of parliament. So what all kind of data it would be, what all kind of data it would be covering? For example, where is that person MP's house is, where that person's office is, from which car is that person going from one place to another? Is he using a private plane or is he using a chartered plane while he is doing? Because these are the kind of facts by which you come to know whether the finances which he has said he has, that particular MP has, whether he has that much finances or is he trying to get some black money into the economy. So these are certain kinds of data which you come across when you are doing a journalist activity. And let's say you are using that those data in your journalistic activities. And that MP can actually file a case against you for breach of personal data protection. Why? Because journalistic activities are not exempted under DPDP. So the author has point out this issue, and then he has said that there is still a remedy available. For sure, that here he is arguing that journalistic activities should be exempted from DPDP's Act, because otherwise the free speech which is a fundamental right, the freedom of press which is a fundamental right and part of free speech, would be not fully exercisable or would be violated in certain sense. So one of the suggestion which this author has given is that although journalistic activity has not been exempted in the DPDP Act, the ministry is yet to come up with the rules And in the rules or in the DPDP Act, there is a provision that the ministry or the government actually can provide for exemptions by the government can also provide the exemptions to journalistic activity. So here the author has argued that government should not waste time, and whenever the rules come, journalistic activities of specific kinds. For example, there can be a certain kind of protection that if it can be proved that the journalist is doing such and such activity to harm the particular person, then obviously such kind of activities cannot be allowed. However, when the journalist activities are ethical in nature, then such activities should be exempted from application of DPDP Act. So this is what the authors argue. So this is it from this. Now move to next news. So obviously, so there was this news also that it's more of a political news only. But I wanted to discuss something from this news. So Kangana Ranawat meets Dalai Lama in Himachal Pradesh Trump summit. So as you may know, Dalai Lama, who is the spiritual and religious head of all Tibetans or Tibetan Buddhism, he is the head of that channel. And as you may know, that Dalai Lama or this Tibetan Buddhism originated in the country of Tibet. However, you must know this that Tibet is actually now part of China. However, this was not the case always. Tibet earlier was an autonomous region. Still, it is an autonomous region, but China was not directly involved. However, since 1959, this Tibet, although it is called an autonomous region, it has come in the full control of the Chinese or Communist Party of China's country. So in the 1959, Dalai Lama and his followers actually ran away from China and actually asked for asylum in 1959. And since 1959, the seat of Dalai Lama or the seat of the seat of Tibetan government in exile is right now or is in Dharamshala. So I wanted to cover this news to tell you that if a question comes up, where is the seat of the Dalai Lama or home of Dalai Lama? So you should know that it is right now in Dharamshala, or to be very specific, in McLeodganj. McLeodganj in Dharamshala in Himachal Pradesh, where the seat of the current Dalai Lama is located. Okay, so this you should know. And one question which, if you know, can answer in the comment box is, what is the name of the monastery? What is the name of the monastery which is in Dharamshala, or it is also known as a personal monastery of the Dalai Lama? So you have to tell me the name of that personal monastery. Moving on. So again, on the global page, remember this, that in your CLAT exam, the global or the world page is also very important. And sometimes these pictures or these news which are given in a very short form, excuse me, these news which are given in very short form sometimes may contain a very good news item also. For example, look at this news. Singapore PM Lee to step down, deputy to take over next week. So otherwise it would have been a very normal news that there was some Singapore PM who is now decided to step down and some other person going to take over. However, this is important because Singapore is obviously an important country for India. And the other thing is that this person, Lee Hsien Loong, is going to leave this office after 2 decades. So he has been the Prime Minister of Singapore for the last 20 years. So that's why this news becomes important. Look at the third news. Second news is not that important, but look at the third news. Marcos rules out giving US access to more Philippine military base. So from this news, some of the takeaways which you will get is that Philippines, yeah, there are US military bases, or the US military has access to bases in which of the countries? So answer will be Philippines. For example, another thing which you would get is, who is the president of Philippines right now? So it would be Ferdinand Marcos. So usually the names of the presidents of different countries, you cannot learn all of them. There are more than 193 UN member states. You cannot know the president, prime minister of all those. However, Philippines is an important country because it is getting into many of the South China dispute with China. So because of this, this becomes very important country. Other reason is that the main friend of China in this region is Philippines only. And you can read this news and find out that at least there are 9 such bases which are being wherein the US military has access. Which means if the US wants to launch an attack on China, it can actually use this basis, which makes Philippines all the more important country for US as well as for your access. Let's look at the next news. Crime against humanity may have happened in Sudan. So crime against humanity is actually a loaded term. Why it is loaded term? Because it is related to genocide. If you will look at the genocide convention, one of the thing which it states about genocide is when there is a crime against humanity. Also, crime against humanity is important for the reason that the United Security Council, United Nations Security Council, can take an action against, can do a combined action against a state if a crime against humanity has taken over. So that's why this terminology is important. And where this issue has arisen is in the state of Sudan. So that's why if you keep reading such kind of information, you will keep coming across such kind of words like crimes against humanity. Do a small Google search and you will find out what the importance of such terms. Okay, moving on. So now we have come to the news items from Indian Express. So again, this year, this Indian Express, there has been an overlap of news in both the Hindu and the Indian Express. Moreover, the news which have come today in the Indian Express were actually covered in yesterday's Hindu newspaper. So again, if you are not getting the context of today's newspaper, you can actually refer to yesterday's Monday's newspaper. So again, this news is again related to Israel and Iran. And in this editorial, the editorial board is arguing that it is time to back down. That both the states, both Israel and Iran, have crossed their red lines. How? Israel, by attacking a consulate is considered as a territory of the other country. It is same as attacking that country in the mainland. And Iran, by striking Israel for the first time, is striking Israeli mainland for the first time, has also crossed us a red line. And it was not a small attack. More than 300 missiles, drones, ballistic missiles, cruise missiles, etc. were used by Iran, which means both of them have actually climbed a ladder of escalation. So one concept is ladder of escalation. What is ladder of escalation? So ladder of escalation would be just like a ladder. So when you are escalating a war, you are crossing the lines at every ladder. We are saying that you are rising in the ladder of escalation, and usually the final ladder is the nuclear option. Usually whenever a country is climbing a ladder of escalation, other countries and other experts come ahead and ask those countries to move. And it also happens whenever India, Pakistan are getting into hostilities. For example, last year, if you remember, Pathankot, Balakot strikes, etc. At that time, US, UK, etc., came forward and asked India and Pakistan to resist from taking any higher step or escalating that conflict. Again, here also the editorial is arguing that it is time to back down, because right now there is already a lot of hostilities going on in other parts of the world also. For example, the Russia-Ukraine war is still continuing. The Israel-Gaza war is continuing. In Africa, there are many countries where there is a kind of civil war situation going on. Afghanistan is unstable. There is instability in Myanmar and many other countries. So here the editorial is arguing that both the countries should back down. Okay, moving on. So another news headline which has come up in the explain section. So if you are reading your Indian Express newspaper, then explained section and your editorial forms the major part of your newspaper reading. You should pay special attention when it comes to your editorials and section in the Indian newspaper, in the Indian Express newspaper. So here in the explained section, a particular case is being talked about in Switzerland, where so if you may know that Switzerland is part of the European Union, European Council to be exact, and actually they are when if you are a member of European Council, you actually also become the member of European Court of Human Rights. And if any of the party state, if any of the country which is member of it and has violated human rights of citizens of that country, then those citizens can directly approach this European Court of Human Rights against that country. So what happened was that some 2,000 women, all above the age of 64, so they had created one specific group The group name was Association of Senior Women for Climate Protection, Switzerland. So this was a group of women, and they actually filed a case against Switzerland. So they filed a case against Switzerland, stating, yeah, arguing therein that Switzerland has failed in its duty to protect the right of the senior citizens, or protecting the right of the citizens against adverse effect of climate change. So basically, they argued that the Switzerland policy or the Switzerland's government actions have not been enough to protect the people or the citizens of Switzerland from climate change. And since it is part of right to life is part of their fundamental rights, that's why Switzerland is responsible for whatever harm has come to these women. So that's why they have been asking for compensation, and they have been asking the ECHR to ask the government of Switzerland to take specific action to protect its citizen from climate change. So this is news. Why this has come up again? Why? Because this decision has come up. Apart from it, if you know, just a few days ago, just 10, 12 days ago, uh, there was a judgment in India also, where the Chief Justice of India and two other judges in a Supreme Court was held down that right to be free from adverse, right to be free from adverse effects of climate change is a fundamental right. So not just in Europe now, in India also, every Indian citizen or every person who is in India right now has a fundamental right to be free from adverse effects of climate change, as it has been recognized by the Supreme Court as a fundamental right and as part of Article 14 and 20. So because of this, this has come up. Herein, apart from other thing, it is also talking about what about other climate litigation. So it has been reported that in the recent past, for example, there is a data of December to 2022, wherein it is stated that there are around 2,180 such cases going on in different jurisdictions. And it states that there is a large increase, that every year the number of cases for protection from climate change is increasing. And as per this article, it is a very good, it is a welcome achievement. Moreover, here there is a talk about a particular case. For example, a 9-year old approached the Uttarakhand government, and wherein it's a National Green Tribunal, which is a tribunal dealing with climate change and your environmental issues. Therein, that girl said there that under the Paris Agreement, India's existing environmental laws, it is obligatory. It is obligatory on the government to mitigate the impacts of climate change. However, her petition was rejected at that time. But now the Supreme Court has finally included the right to be free from adverse effect of climate change as a fundamental right of citizens. So that's why this news has come. So with this, we are done with the Hindu news and the Indian Express news analysis for today. Today's newspaper was very light. There were very few articles which were to be done from today's news items. Okay, so now let's start with the questions now. So the first question which has been framed is that IMD has forecasted an above normal monsoon. The long period average rainfall for monsoon season is, so we have also discussed it before. So it is C87 centimeters. Second is, what is the name of the Israeli-linked ship seized by Iran and had 17 Indian crew members on board? So again, on the first page itself, the name of this airline or name of the ship is given. So if you have read this, you would be able to answer it. And the answer is MSC. Next, India has recently hit the export target of 41.68 billion. What good constitutes the largest share of India's export basket? So we have already discussed it, and the answer is refined petroleum. Second is diamond. Third is medicines, and fourth is jewelry. Next, who served as the first female CEC of India? So you must know the first CEC of India. You must know the first female CEC of India, because such kind of questions come in your exam. So is it Sudha Murthy, Nirupama Rao, Meera Kumar, or V.S. Ramadevi? So answer is D, V.S. Ramadevi. Next, name the Indian state which has the highest number of Lok Sabha seats for the general elections in 2020. So it's a very easy question. If you know this simple principle, that the seats to states in Lok Sabha or in the Rajya Sabha are actually allocated on the basis of population. And if you just know that which state has the highest population, you would be able to answer it. So definitely the answer will be D. Next, the Indian voter ID card or the EPIC were first issued in which year? So when was the election voter card or photo identity card were issued in India? Was it in 52, 93, 15 or 2020? Answer is 1993. The first time electors photo identity card were issued in 1993 only. Next, so initially they were these voter ID cards were printed on black ink. However, now the Indian government has implemented PVC color versions of voter ID cards. So earlier it was only on a piece of paper, regular paper, but now we are using PVCs for publishing or PVCs for printing these voter ID cards. So from which year have we started doing this? Was it in 2005, 10, 15 or 20? And the answer is next. Since 1959, the seat of the Dalai Lama or the Tibetan government in exile is located at. So now you know Dharamshala, Himachal Pradesh is the answer. And I've also asked you one question also. So what is the name of the particular monastery where the Dalai Lama resides in Dharamshala? Next. It has been reported that Delhi Development Authority is violating National Green Tribunal guidelines. Who is the current chairperson of NGT? So as you can see that I could have straight away asked you the current chairperson of NGT. However, I've given you this particular news headline because so that you have a context from where it has been asked or why it has been asked. So who is the current chairperson? So answer will be Prakash Srivastava. Lokeshwar Singh Pant or LS Pant was the first one. This was the second chairperson. It was a third. And right now, Prakash Srivastava is the current and the fourth chairperson of National Green Tribunal. Next, in December 2023, India launched its maiden winter expedition at the Arctic. What is the name of India's research station in the Arctic located at Svalbard in Norway? And the answer here is the Himadri. So we have discussed it today. So again, this is from your newspaper. And the job for you is to find out where is the Maitri Center located, where is the or what is the status of Dakshin Gangotri. And also, I'm telling you this only that Uttar Gangotri is not a research station for us. So you have to tell me in the comment box where is Maitri located and what is the current status? Where is Dakshin Gangotri located and what is the current status? Or is there any other research expedition center in the Arctic or in the Antarctic? Search about the centers of Arctic and Antarctic and mention in the chat. Next, which country currently holds the chairmanship of the Arctic Council, an intergovernmental forum promoting cooperation among Arctic states? So again, we have discussed it today also. And I asked you there, who is the chairman of Arctic Council? The answer for us would be C, Norway. Norway is the current chairman of the Arctic Council, and there is a rotational policy. So Norway is going to be the council chair for the next 2 years, and after it, there would be a change in the chairmanship. Next, what was Operation Meghdoot? So, since we have discussed in detail, I hope you know the answer. It's India's mission to secure control over the Siachen region. So, it is not limited to this. So, you can actually learn things from the option also. For example, you should find out and mention in the comment box India's operation to recapture territories in the Kargil War. What was the name of that operation? What was the name of the operation of India's Navy to strike against Pakistan Karachi port in 1971? What is the name of India's Army's counter-insurgency operation in Jammu and Kashmir? So it is your job to find out what is the name of these particular operations. Okay, and mention it in the comment section. Next, Sensex is the benchmark stock market index of India. What does the BSE Sensex reflect? So Sensex is short for sensitivity index, and it actually tracks the index of certain. It actually tracks the performance of certain companies listed on the BSE. So you have to tell me how many companies are actually listed or are visible on the Sensex. So is it for all the companies listed on the BSE stock? Is it the top 100? Is it the 30 largest or top 30 large top companies? Is it the 50 most volatile BSE stock? So answer here is C, 30 largest common stock exchange stocks. Next, what does the wholesale price index measure in India? So as you may know, we use CPI for calculating inflation. Earlier, we used to use WPI. So my question is simple. What does WPI measure? So does it measure prices of goods at the wholesale level? Is it to calculate or measure the consumer spending habits? Is it to calculate the retail prices of essential commodities, or is it to calculate the or measure the fluctuation in the stock market? So it becomes very easy. It is price of goods at the wholesale level, which is measured by the wholesale price. Next question: who is the current Prime Minister of Singapore, who is set to step down after 2 decades of leadership? And the answer is A. Lee Hsien Loong. Lawrence Wong is going to replace the current Prime Minister, and Lee Kuan Yew is also known as the father of Singapore and was the first Prime Minister President of Singapore. Next, in context of Iran-Israel hostilities, which year marked the occurrence of the Islamic Revolution in Iran? And the answer for this is B, 1979. So there was a change of guard in the state of Iran, and finally Iran became an Islamic Republic. And it happened because of the Islamic Revolution in the year 1970. Next question. So the Olympic Games 2024 are scheduled to begin in July. It is being hosted by which of the following countries? Is it being hosted by France, South Korea, US, and Australia? And the answer here is France. So Paris, the city of Paris, is going to host the Olympic Games for 2020. Next question. So another interesting fact, interesting question from IPL. Which of the following IPL team has set the highest total in IPL history? So if you have watched yesterday's match, you would find out that the answer for 18th is actually C, Sunrisers. Next question. So again, this is another current affairs related news, which is very important. Who broke the longest standing world record in men's athletic without discus throw? So there was a record of a discus throw which was existing for the last 35 years. And you have to tell me who has broken this record. So the answer is Mykolas Alenka of Lithuania, who has broken the record, which was actually established 35 years ago by George Schultz. Okay, Jesse Owens right now you is currently head is Jesse Owens was a long jumper, and his record after this record has been broken stands for was not remained unbroken for 25 years. Okay, so it has been broken in the long jump also, but because this record has now been broken, this becomes the longest surviving record in the athletics. Next, which of the following team claimed their maiden league's winners' shield in the Indian Super League? If you may know, Indian Super League is a football tournament, just like your IPL. It is a football league in India. And which of the following team has won the 2024 ISL title? Is it Mohun Bagan, Mumbai City, Kerala Blasters, or East Bengal? So answer is Mohun Bagan SG, which has won the maiden leagues winner shields in the Indian Super League 20. So class, that's it from my side. I hope to see you in the next session tomorrow, where we are going to discuss the important news headline for today. So thank you and have a very nice day from my side. And if you have any questions, you can also ask in the comment.